Welcome to another edition of Cheers to Careers. I'm Steve Ridinghouse, the Career Outreach Coordinator at the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at KU. Hello and welcome to another episode of Cheers to Careers. I'm Steve Ridinghouse, the Career and Outreach Coordinator for the KU School of Journalism and Mass Communications. Today we are joined by Sara Beane, KU alum, Public Relations Business Owner at Beanstalk Media. Welcome, Sara.
Hi, Steve. It's so great to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Well, thanks for being here. I know you do a great job of sharing the work you do in your PR capacity, and you've been busy.
I've been busy. This past week has been, I told my husband, it's been a little bananas, but it's been a good bananas. I've been very happy. I had a high-profile client that kind of came out of nowhere, and Jasper's Restaurant. I think you've heard of it. Everyone in the Kansas City area has heard of it, and I had the, the privilege of helping him celebrate his 70th anniversary.
And so when they approached you, or maybe you found them, was the 70-year anniversary, was that the hook for the media, or did you have a different type of hook that you wanted to promote?
It was the 70th anniversary, and the interesting thing about it is that I had worked with Jasper on behalf of my clients, because he has a radio show on KCMO, live from Jasper's Kitchen. And so I had pitched some of my clients to him, and he had been gracious enough to include them. And at one point, I just happened to mention that I have to start a PR package in case he knew any small restaurants that needed help. And I was so surprised. I never in a million years thought he would say, I need your help. And he did. And that's how it came that they had the 70th anniversary, and he needed some help promoting that.
And it looks like you made quite a bit of media rounds. I'm always fascinated by the PR, and in a market like KC, how do you kind of keep everybody happy? Because I know one station might want it first. How do you kind of find that balance?
And that was a little difficult, to be honest, because he knows so many people in the media, right. and they have ways to get in contact with him without me. And so for the most part, though, it was a big story, and most people were happy to do it. All different stations, they really didn't seem to have a problem with sharing the story. So.
And I know you have a fascinating background. You're a KU graduate. You started out in TV. You've got a lot of writing, and I would think it works to your advantage that you know how media works. You know the stories to pitch. How does that come into play?
Sure. So it does. I spent 4 years as a TV news reporter. And then later, after I had children, I did some freelance writing for the Kansas City Star. So I have 10 years of experience as a journalist, and so I know that you have to find that news hook. If you come in and it's an advertisement for the business, they're going to send you down to the advertising department. And so I work really hard to come up with a hook that I think is going to be of interest to the reporter.
And is it collaborative with your client, or do you pretty much have the plan and this is what we're going to stick to, or is there kind of that give and take?
That's a good question. They actually come to me and they tell me what they want to promote. A lot of times, I have a client that's an artist, and he had an event coming up. But he actually used me when he was just kind of getting his name out. And so I found some hooks as to what his business, where he also collects art, and we just found different an angle, and we put it out there, and I always run it past the client and say, this is what I think will be of interest, and this is how I would like to approach it. But I do about a 5-paragraph pitch, and so I can add a couple different things, the things that they want to promote as well. But I really do try to find the news hook.
So with the recent coverage with the Jaspers, did that go according to plan, or was there some unexpected surprises there?
Yeah, there were actually. So yesterday was the actual 70th anniversary, and we. Trying to think, we got there, we had a live appearance at Channel 4, so there was some excitement. The producer wanted to do an April Fool's joke with the host, so that was a last minute thing. Jasper was great, he was very game for that. He had been on the show before, but then we had a last minute interview with Channel 41, so we had to kind of race from one interview to another, so it was a very exciting day. Yeah.
And I always think that's the fascinating thing about kind of a PR plan, because I think a lot of people think it's like press release, a one-time story, but it looks like you really try to build that momentum, from start to finish. I do. With him, there was so many opportunities to talk about the history of his restaurant. And once we got him in the interview, he had so many things to talk about. And so it was wonderful. We promoted the anniversary, but then he talked about some other things. He did some cooking demonstrations in some interviews. So yeah, he had a nice range of things he could talk about. And when you graduated, Kate, you talked about starting out in TV.
I assume, was that your career plan? You're thinking, I'm going to
It
be
was.
TV and that's going to be my career?
It was. I was in the broadcast news, section back then, and so I wanted to be a TV news reporter, and I did. I was very lucky. So spring break of my senior year, I went down to a station in Sherman, Texas, and they covered North Texas, Southern Oklahoma, and I did an informational interview. There weren't any jobs there. I get a call the week of finals,
Oh, wow.
and they're like, "We have a job. It's producing the 10 p.m. news 3 days a week and then being a reporter 2 days a week." So I'm doing an interview. I accepted the job and moved down there 2 weeks after graduation. And I had never produced a newscast. So that was completely, new to me.
And what were some of the activities you're involved in at KU? Did you do KUJH?
So we didn't have that when I was here.
Okay.
I did KJHK. I did
okay.
I was a producer my one semester for someone that read the news, and then I got to move up to be the newscaster, like from 6 to 9 a.m. a couple days a week. Yeah.
Now, do you rely a lot on those early skills, experiences in your current role?
I do, because I think, the 4 years I spent, I was a news reporter, producer, and anchor, had a morning show at KSNT, was what I was doing towards the end of my broadcasting career. It has all helped me. I've worked on deadline for years.
Right.
I had to turn stories every single day, as news reporters do in TV news. And I don't think that ever leaves you. I think that is, people are always like, wow, you get stuff done fast. I'm like, yeah, because I've worked on deadline. I know what it's like. And I think that carries over well to PR, because the people I work with are on deadline.
I know I was in the newspaper for 20 years, and my
Yes.
first PR job, hey, can you have this press release? They give it to me Monday. Can you have
Yeah.
it done by Friday? I go, well, if I think I get the right source, I might have it done today. And
Yeah.
they're like, oh my God. But yeah, that
Yes.
deadline writing is such a skill, and I always
It is.
emphasize that to our students to make sure they put that
It
on their
is.
the resume. So in your role with PR, how do you stand out like in a crowded media market? I mean, you've got
Sure.
multiple TV stations, and there's other PR agencies. I mean, how do you try to separate from others?
Sure. The thing I'm doing now is I have a starter PR package that's really geared towards the small business owner, I don't have a retainer, so it's a flat fee. You get a 5-paragraph media pitch. I send it to 20 people. The beauty of it is you get to keep the media pitch, you get to keep the media list, and so really I'm empowering the small business
Right.
owner that once I'm done sending it out and coordinating, you get to take that and use as much as you want. And so I think that is really something that hasn't really been done for that small business client.
And how do you find your clients? Is it word of mouth, or are you
Sure.
proactively trying to find these clients?
I do a lot of reaching out on my own. I
Okay.
just kind of, I find people on social media. I'm very curious about different businesses, and when I see something that I think, wow, I think I could help them, I just send them, a note. Sometimes I get a response, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I have word of mouth. Now it's starting to be a little bit more of that, and I'm really pleased about that. So I appreciate everybody that sends somebody my way.
And kind of going back to that story angle, I mean, are there like 2 or 3 things you look for like before you pitch a story? I mean, is there like a checklist that we've got to hit
Sure.
these type of story angles before I can even consider?
I
pitching
just
this?
make sure that that I'm real clear with the client about this is what I think is going to sell and what I think, and then I write it in I really rely on my newspaper writing skills to make it an entertaining pitch. They get a 1 round of edits on that, so they can make any changes they want. And I just try to keep it concise and entertaining, and something that they'll want to read and not click delete, and I keep it short enough that I hope to do that as well.
And talk to me a little bit about the power of like earned media.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of underemphasized. I know
Oh, yeah.
a lot of time ads, obviously you have to pay for
Sure.
it, but I know there's still, in my opinion, that wow factor
Yeah.
with that earned media where you're not really purchasing that
Yeah.
time on TV, but it's just the fact that you do have that great story.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I deal in. I don't do any paid media. It's all earned media. So everything I pitch is to get a news story, a news article, and it's huge. I mean, because everybody's focused on social media, as they should be, right? When you're a business owner, you have to do that. I do it as well. But you need people to come to your site, to come to
Right.
your Facebook page, your website, and that's where earned media comes in, And I always tell my clients too, if you get a story, you get a second life of that on your social media pages. You post that story again. It gets shared sometimes by people.
Yeah.
But you need people to see you in a news article and then come to your site, I think, still. There's still a need for that.
And you do quite a bit of work with nonprofits, right?
I do,
Okay.
and I actually offer a small discount for nonprofits, so I'm happy to do that just because I know that they really don't have a big budget.
And I would think they would have a lot of respect for the work you do. Like you said, low budget and just the time? I mean, I
Yes.
would assume you make a huge difference for them.
Yes, I have a client in Gardner where I live, and they have used me twice because of that. You know, they don't have a big budget, and they do appreciate all the news coverage for their various fundraisers.
Do you ever hear back from the clients, like tangible results, like because of that coverage, we've seen an uptick in sales or walk-in traffic? Do you ever
Yes.
get any feedback, or maybe you see it yourself?
I actually, yeah, I have. I've been lucky to in the last couple of weeks. Well, this week with Jasper, he was last week. Channel 4 was there for a live shot, and he told me that the phones were ringing after that later in the day. And then I have my client who's an artist. He has a show going on right now, the new Joby Art Center down near the 18th and Vine area, and I was, lucky that I was there as reservations were starting to come in, and I got to see it real time, with his brother who was handling all the reservations. So it was amazing. I love those opportunities are rare for me to be right there and to hear those, but they're wonderful.
They never say to you, Sarah, what did you do? This is way too much. We can't handle this. Has that ever come up?
No one's ever said that. Last night I was really lucky. My husband and I were invited to be at the 70th anniversary dinner, and so we were in the restaurant, and we heard Chef Jasper go over to another table, and the customers were like, "Oh, we saw you on the news," and he pointed to me. He's like, "Well, she did the PR," and I was like, "That is amazing as a PR person when you get that kind of feedback, because that doesn't always happen." So I was really pleased to.
And are you involved with media training too? I mean, do you prep them for any interviews? Or?
I do to an extent. Okay. Yeah, I try to, I give them, I've had some clients that are a little nervous around the camera, and I've just told them, just kind of, it's just having a conversation, and then I always tell them, this is your chance. If there's something coming up down the road that you really want out there, a new event you're doing, this is your chance to talk about it. Don't forget to talk about it, because this is the time to get that. You won't have this opportunity again to get that out there.
And what's your philosophy about like once you do kind of prep them? Do you try to stay back? I know, like I've worked like in my newspaper career, there might be a PR professional where they're like over their shoulder, their client might be in front of them, and they want to hear everything's being said.
Yeah.
And personally, I kind of like to provide a little space.
Sure.
What's your philosophy on that?
I kind of hang in the area, but I always try to. I'm very respectful of the camera men and women, because I don't want to be in their shot. I don't want to mess anything up. When Channel 4 was out at the Joby Art Center, it was impossible for us to be in there without us being in the shot. So we went outside, outside the doors. And so, yeah, I'm there just in case anybody needs anything, but I try to, be respectful of everybody else and what they need to do.
And I know you've been involved in PR for quite a few years, but I think I saw on LinkedIn, was it like February 7th? Was that kind of your key date where you decided, I'm all in?
Yeah.
Why did you decide this is the time?
Sure.
Be totally committed.
So I had a part-time, on-staff job, but it just wasn't enough hours, and I was doing their media, and had a lot of success in a short amount of time with only about 8 hours a week. I thought it's just time for me to kind of commit to myself, I think, and try to bring on my own clients, and I think I can, and I just, just decided to bet on myself for a chance, so for change.
And I know we've talked about work-life balance before.
Yeah.
I know you came back and spoke to J School Generations. I know you have 2 sons. I guess they're
I
not
do.
young anymore. They're kind of grown.
Yeah.
So how did that kind of figure in? I know you were a big part of
Sure.
their life growing up.
Yeah.
So you talk about the timing. Was that a big part of it? Like, they're grown up now. Now
Yeah.
it's time to kind of focus more on.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. My husband are kind of empty nesters. Our youngest is in college. Our oldest is getting ready to finish his MBA, and so. It's a nice distraction too. I kind of miss having them around, and so it's like I'm just really enjoying focusing on growing my business, and I really like what I do. I think that's really important. I love the media. I love helping companies get exposure. I just think it's good so good for them.
And talking about social media, I know social media wasn't around when we were at KU.
Yeah.
How important has that been to kind of promote your work and the work of others?
Sure. Yeah, it's really important for everybody, but I've leaned into it a lot just because, I need to show my results. Here's what I've done. That's how I sell my business, and so I do use it quite a bit.
And what advice would you have for, soon-to-be grad, or maybe somebody that's thinking about changing careers? I mean,
Sure.
what's something they should look for, like in a career in PR?
Yeah, I think what's important, and I've had a lot of ebbs and flows in my career. I started in broadcasting. I've done a lot of writing. I've had seasons of my life where I've done more writing, more PR, more news, and I think that the journalism degree at KU just prepares you for that so well that it's okay to change. It's okay to change lanes every once in a while until you find where you really want to be or what works for you at that moment in your life.
Yeah, that's well said, because we definitely talk about transferable skills a
Yes.
lot. And yeah, I did newspapers for 20 years and PR for 10, and now I'm in my third career as a career advisor. So, nope, well said. Okay, before you go, I always like to close with the Fast Five. So I don't want to put you on the spot here.
All righty.
So, if Beanstalk Media, I love that name by the way,
Thank you.
was not your name, what would it be? Or was there even a runner-up?
Oh gosh, I probably would have. Yeah, it probably would have been something boring, just like my Sara Beane public relations or something like that.
So did you pick Beanstalk on your own, or did someone?
Someone suggested it to me. Yeah.
When is the best time of day to pitch a story to media? Have you figured that out, or is there a sweet
I
spot?
like to do the morning. I never do it on the weekends. That's always my hard, fast rule because I don't want it to get lost in their inbox.
And is it always email?
Yeah, I generally
good
find
thing.
email, unless I know them really well, then a text. But I find that that's how they prefer to get it.
What have you determined to be the best social media platform to use in the PR industry?
You know, it was really, well, I guess we call it X now, right? Twitter, I find a lot of reporters that way. So that's really a nice way. Sometimes they'll have their contact information on there. So I love that. I use them. Instagram's growing. I use Facebook. I use them all.
What was your favorite class at KU?
Oh, I loved, well, it wasn't technically in the journalism school, but it was the broadcasting performance class that Tom Hedrick taught. Was amazing. I also really loved my journalism history class. I just thought that was really interesting.
Did you have Calder Pickett or
No.
Derry? I know I had Derry. I can't remember who else would have
No,
taught that.
and I can't think of the name, but I did really like it. And then a challenging course would have been Ted Fred's journalism law.
Or law, yeah.
Yeah,
I had
so
that for a while.
hard.
That
So
was
many
tough.
note cards and paces.
Yeah, I had that well, and that was a challenge.
Yes.
I know you've had some great media placement already. What is that one dream media placement? What's that one media you would love to get some a story placed in?
Oh,
Either
gosh.
TV or print.
That's a good question. You know, I've been really fortunate. I was with a company where I had a lot of national exposure, and so the Today Show, and I was lucky. It took me a year, and I got in Today's Show after a year, and then a couple more times. Gosh, I don't know. I guess People Magazine would be kind of cool. Yeah, I've never been. I have never had anybody really a reason to pitch to them.
Nope, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for playing Fast Five.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking time to join us. I know you took a
Thank
road trip to get
you.
here. And Sarah, I appreciate it, and cheers to your career.
Cheers to careers. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Sarah.
Appreciate it.